Yes. What's up, everybody? As you can hear, we it is your boy. It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr. It is always a blast coming to you, the Impact Builder. It's the oh, hold on. I think I got an echo in here. Hold on.
Mm.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me over here.
Yeah. No, I got it. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. No. I know what it is. Yeah, that should get rid of it. Yep, we good. Okay. We want to welcome everybody to the brand new development series with your boy Leroy McKenzie Jr. Brought to you by the men of the Black Professional Men Inc., the organization that is whose mission is to secure the future of the African American male, and JNF Enterprises. We're here coming to you. I know we're usually here on the third Monday, but we are here actually today, the fourth Monday, because this topic is so important that we wanted to actually make sure that we got it in. And I got a gentleman that is here with me this evening. He is my brother from another mother, and he is doing some powerful things here in and through the community. So we're going to get into a conversation with him after he introduces himself, so that we can get right into this. Because when he and I get into these conversations, we know we go right forward, we get right into it, and they get really impactful. And hopefully, these conversations will guide us as men to where we want to be, specifically as Black men, and what we need to be doing in our community, for our community, and through our community, so that we can have that kind of impact, and do what we want to do, which is be the influencers of our community. So I'm going to introduce him by his name, and then I'm going to let him talk about himself and the great things that he's doing, and then we're going to get into our conversation. And the conversation tonight is, do Black men have an identity crisis? So, so we about to go in. So I'm going to introduce y'all to Dr. I'm gonna call him Dr. Darryl, because he just he is doing some great things. But Darryl Lee, who is just doing some phenomenal things. Brother Darryl, you want to introduce yourself to the folks, please?
Yeah, sure. My name is Darryl Lee. I go by at Darryl the Mentor, or Darryl the Mentor. A lot of people know me as Mr. Lee. I do a lot of mentoring, probably 100 plus people at this point, whether you're teenagers or older adults. Also been teaching in workforce development as a teacher for 20 plus years. I always say from the street to the boardroom. From the hood to Hollywood, from the community to the mountaintop, and everywhere in between. So that is who I am. I also am a business owner of Rain Ultimate Solutions Network as well. You can go to Rain, REIGN, Ultimate Solutions Network.com to visit the site to see what it is that we do in the community. And also, I am a co-founder of Outcast Food Network, where I'm also the vice president with a partner friend of mine, Lawrence Sanders. And we feed in the Baltimore area per month about 1,000 people per month. Wow. And we've been doing it for a little while now, and it's been going great. And we're looking to begin a workforce development program within that program to teach, train, help people with jobs, career positions, temporary positions, as well as training and certifications, and help people to get their GEDs. Also working with people who have been incarcerated and who are coming back into the workforce. And I also go into the prisons and do prison ministry, as well as prison instruction and that kind of thing. So it's a lot going on. So I'm grateful to be where I am and who I am today.
Wow, that's awesome, brother, that you're doing so many of those things. And I want to just ask you a couple of questions just about what you do. Where did
Mhm.
that passion come from? Where did you develop that passion come from to want to serve in those different capacities like that? Because that's a lot right there. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I would say if I could kind of sum it up to say from pain to purpose,
Mm,
a lot of times through loss, through things that we involve ourselves in at an early age,
mm-hmm,
being young and immature as well. You grow and you learn, and you are by the fiery heat of the fiery flame that God sometimes allows to come on your life in different circumstances to burn off the impurities so that we can come forth and become pure gold. So I would say it started young, and just being kind of growing up in the hood, growing up in the projects and the high rises in Philadelphia slash California. Um, seeing the lack, seeing the
mm-hmm,
poverty, seeing the financial discord,
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
financial lack of literacy and knowledge about finances and things of that nature, suffering, lack and poverty is a paralyzing thing. Wanting hurts.
Mm,
Wanting whether it's for your children or wanting for a better life or wanting to change your surroundings, but feeling trapped or feeling like you're imprisoned, though you may be outside of the physical bars, you could be mentally imprisoned
mm,
as well. And or physically imprisoned, though you may be outside in the earth and doing things in the earth and not fully have whether it's the education, whether it's the parenting, whether it's one or two. It could be a lot of different things. So I think my passion for that came early. One of the things that I remember as just recently, we were myself and my wife were on Fox Soul
mm-hmm.
with Dr. Sean, the Book of Sean.
Yeah.
And you can find that if you want to go to our YouTube channel, foxsoul.tv. But one of the things that he asked me was, what was I running from? And as later on through the show, I didn't mention it then, but I mentioned some things that were true and from the heart. But as I was thinking about what I was running from, and has always been a fear of mine, running from poverty. That fear of being restricted, that fear of being in lack, and
Mm-hmm.
then experiencing lack, having a single parent mother whose father wasn't in his life early. That, and I watched what she went through prior in her life, raising two children. And though I was the youngest, I felt like I was the man, so to speak,
Right.
early on. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So because of that, and watching her as a woman raise a young man, which you need a you for the women, you need a man in that child's life, in that male's life, whether it's an uncle, a grandfather, or somebody that you trust and somebody that you will allow to speak into that child's life, or somebody whom that child may respect or like. You know, and so watching that, that helped me and made me kind of develop into organizing. I was really always good at finances and money and handling money and things of that nature as I gotten older. But always was an influencer, as they call it now in social media.
Mm-hmm.
But I was an influencer for a long time, and people rallied to me, or people listened to me, or people, quote unquote, did what I thought was best, or took my advice from me. So that was how it started.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about being raised by a single mother, and I came up the same way. And I always tell people that my dad was in my life more than some, but not as much as I wanted to, and not as much as
Mm,
others, and everything like that. And this is one thing that she and I had a conversation years ago, and she told me, she said, the one thing that I cannot teach you how to do is to be a man. She
yeah.
said, I can love you as your mother, teach you how to,
Mm-hmm.
be, be an influence, as you said, in society, but I cannot teach you how to be a man. And
Mm-hmm.
the wonderful thing about her, she understood that, but she also had those men around me in my circle that I could use, and that were my
Yeah.
influencers that were able
Yeah.
to teach me what manhood was, understanding what it was to be a man. I mean, and even it was something that you don't hear from a lot of women, because a
Yeah.
lot of those conversations is, well,
Yeah.
I'm the mother, and I had to be the mother and the
Right.
father. Well, no, you can never
Right.
be the father.
Right.
And I know
Right.
ladies don't want to hear that, and this, that, and the other, but we're here to tell you the truth. Just like
Yeah.
you wouldn't think that a man or a father could teach his daughter how to be a woman. He can't do it.
Right. You can't do it.
You
Right.
can't do it. You can't do
hmm
it. There's not one single man that will say that he could teach his daughter how to be a man. I don't
Right.
care. I don't care who he is, and if he
hmm
says it, he's lying to you.
Yeah.
Because the
True.
thing, you can't teach someone something that you could never be. A doctor
Yes.
can't teach you how to be a lawyer. A lawyer
Yep.
can't teach you how to be an electrician. You know,
hmm
though they just, it's something that you cannot do. It's because you don't have the understanding of it. You don't
hmm
have the that was better word. You don't have the equipment. So
Yeah. Right. Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's a
Absolutely.
totally different. It's a totally different
Totally different.
wiring.
Yeah.
Totally different
To walk in
wiring.
those actual shoes is totally different. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know so but I like that you said, because I think that's going to go into our conversation tonight,
Mm.
when as we talk about, is there an identity crisis with black men,
Mm. Mm.
because it's such a thing. And you said something that made me just think, we've had the same issues that we've been dealing with, and I'm talking since before we were here, in the 50s and 60s, that our parents and our grandparents
hmm
dealt with. Now we have access to more, but we're still dealing with some of the same issues that it comes to when it comes to black men. you know
hmm
and that I wanted to bring those things that we'll get into as we get into our conversation tonight, because one of the things that I want to do is talk about what can we do to shift, to make a difference
Right.
in that, to come up with
hmm
solutions, because
Solutions. Right.
yeah, we've always you hear people talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but one of the things that I've learned, there's a difference between just talking about it, and also having the answers, but
hmm
also implementing those solutions that we
Yes.
have in order to be able to solve
Yes.
it. Because you can have all the answers that you want, but if you don't put those answers forward and to move us
hmm
forward, it won't happen. So
Right.
I think that I'm gonna start off by asking you that very question: do
hmm
we as black men have an identity crisis? And if we do, what is that? Why do we have it? And then
hmm
the second part of that, if we don't, then why do we still seem to be stuck where we are?
Right. So I would say somewhat yes and somewhat no. That's it's kind of a tricky place.
Mhm,
But what I would say about that is I think it's because, especially as black men and especially men of color,
mhm,
and I'm gonna just use myself for example. I had to grow up quickly, or at least I thought I had to grow up quickly.
mhm, mhm,
Like I said, being from a single parent mother home, being the youngest, having an older sister, I felt, we innately come out of the womb as men, innately knowing that we have to be the provider.
There's that word again.
Nobody has to teach me that. I don't even remember anybody teaching it to me, be honest with you. Provider, protector, you gotta make money. You gotta take
Mhm,
care of the household. You're the man of the house.
mhm,
And so I knew that instinctively. And because of that, and because of me again watching what I described a little earlier in the lack, the poverty, all these things, I was able to know who I was
mhm,
early, and I
mhm,
had to I had to assume the man role, though I was yet a child. I had to assume a mindset of, and I chose a lot of it too.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
I was a church boy. My mom raised me in church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all in the afternoon. I was at church. For dinner time, we was at church. Anywhere we went, vacation wise, was with the church on a convention,
mhm,
and and I would and I love my upbringing, but too much of an overdose of anything
Yep.
isn't always good. Just like the earth revolves on a balance, we need balance.
Right.
And so there wasn't enough of the other side of the earthly realm or the natural realm, naturally realm involved in that balance. You know, and so I went to the other side. But I learned a lot of lessons. I did have a lot of mentors, though they were in the wrong activities because they thought they had to be because of lack of education or whatever it may be. I was able to know instinctively who I was and the fact that I had an influence over people, or especially over young men and men. And I was able to, through that, as well as through some people who I looked up to, even in my mother's church, as well as in the street, I was able to be groomed, but yet eat the meat and throw away the bone at an early age, if that makes sense. And took on what applied and what was good versus what was not good for me in my identity as who I was, because we all have a different fingerprint. No one person has a fingerprint the same, except for the possibility of you being a identical twin. So what that says to me, and should say to anybody who's listening, is that I'm different and I'm special and I'm wonderfully made. And because of that, I was able to identify and learn early that that I was a king, that I was a Black king, that I could reign, REIGN, but I could have confidence in anything that I put my mind to. And I was smart enough to know educationally that I could go as far as I wanted to go. And because of the faith that my mother had instilled from church, and once I got to know God for myself in my own relationship, not the God of my mother and my grandmother, if that makes sense to you.
No, makes perfect sense.
He started working on me early, though I was in a rebellious state. And I believe for most of us, that's where that grace comes in and that mercy comes in. And depending on your purpose and your mission in life that he has for you, you know, he will allow you to begin to move into things and learn the things he needs you to learn. And so, yes, I believe we do in a lot of instances with our young men and our millennials have an identity crisis as to who we are as Black men, because you get so much of the social media, so much of the news telling us what we're not. We either don't tell ourselves enough what we are, and we're not surrounding ourselves. Let me put it this way. I believe that eagles should not hang with pigeons.
Right.
Eagles shouldn't hang with pigeons.
And I hope
where you see yourself, not in the physical eye, but where you see yourself in your imagination and your thought process is where you will find yourself.
Right.
So, for instance, if a person is trying to come out of poverty and come from the hood, he must first, or she must first see herself outside of that place, must see themselves in another house or an apartment outside of that confine before you begin to physically walk out. Then putting the things into practice, like getting a good job or getting a job, learning how to save, learning how to be disciplined, learning how to spend and what not to spend, not necessarily self-gratification all the time either. You know, I gotta get that this, or I gotta have that, or hanging with the Joneses. You have to go through the process, of that in order to get to where you need to be, so that you can get to the place you want to go.
Let me ask you this. Now, do you find being a mentor and having a mentorship program, do you find that we one put too much pressure on young men these days, or that we don't put enough pressure on them when it comes to understanding the responsibility of being a young man and then grooming them for manhood?
I think we really don't put enough. I think we don't put enough, not just pressure, but understanding and wisdom as to who you are and whose you are. When you talk about identity, you're really talking about the soul sum of a particular individual.
Right.
And helping that individual to carve out and begin to know who he is and what his purpose could be and should be. And that comes through process and development, whether it's being in a program, whether that's being in a church, whether that's being, whether you have a different belief as in Muslim belief, getting around like-minded guys and young men and older men that can guide you, groom you, and speak into your life, whether you like it or not, because you're not always going to like it. You want to be around some brothers who are not just yes men. You want to be around some brothers who are men and good male role models that you will allow the privilege to speak into your life so that they can help you overcome some of the pitfalls that you or I may have gone into, so that they can propel further and longer or faster or even slower, but long as you propel in a good way.
Yeah, and see that's the importance. I think that, I should say, I think that's one of the missing elements that we have in our society today. I was telling you earlier about, my mom having being purposeful and having, positive male role models in my life. I think that that's one thing that is missing, but at the same time, I also say that the younger generation is not listening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I think you and I, we know we wasn't when you were, you a teenager, you going into your early 20s, that young adult age, you think you know everything.
Yeah, you feeling yourself. You feeling yourself.
Right.
You smelling yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I say. It's just something about that, and this is for the young girls and the young boys that I found too,
Yes.
that it's about that 13, 14-ish
Oh yeah.
age. You can't, they feel as if they know everything. They come
Mm-hmm.
in, and I think part of it is maybe them trying to figure it out too, figure out,
Yeah. Yeah.
figuring out who they are and everything like that. um and I think a lot of parents don't necessarily, they think that their parents don't know anything, and that they're just out to get
They
them and
old
don't want
school.
to
They
do.
think they old school. They
Right.
old timers.
Yeah,
Right.
that's just
Right.
not how it is, mom and dad, and you got to get with the times. Well, I think we said that to our parents too.
Absolutely. Right.
You know
Right.
what
They
I
all
mean?
old. Y'all don't know what y'all
Y'all,
talking about.
y'all, y'all,
Right.
y'all
Right.
just y'all too old, and
Y'all dinosaurs.
yeah, and and as I reflected on, those times, I just think about, like, man, they were right. They were right
Yeah.
about this. They were right
Yeah.
about that. And you say it. I've just never been that person that was just way out there. My parents didn't
Yeah.
play it. My parents didn't play that anyway. So
I was way out there. I was the
yeah,
black sheep, brother.
you can
Yeah.
try to go out
Yeah.
there if you want to, but they're
Yeah.
gonna snatch.
I lived on the edge. I love the challenges. I like just the near misses. I like the almost getting burnt by the fire, but not being touched. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that, like you said, I don't think we put enough pressure
Yeah.
on specifically the young men.
Yeah.
I think we don't hold them accountable enough.
Accountable. Yep. Yeah.
Accountable enough.
And
Whereas
I think they don't realize, Leroy, that we carry the seed of life.
mm,
The
mm,
men are carrying the
wow,
seed of life. We're
wow,
carrying we're carrying the generations and the legacies
yes,
of our families and our family name
mm,
in our loins.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
is very important for us to realize, if we can catch them early to help them understand the kingship of the black young man,
wow,
or the princeship or the princehood of the young man.
mm,
Because when you think about what's going on in the world today with we got great police. I don't want to make it every police. We got great police, but we have a remnant that in the attacks on the African American young man and male, as well as young black women now,
mm,
but really more so on the black young men and males, is because we carry the seed of life for the black community. We carry the sperm cells, so to speak, of our lineage. So if you
absolutely,
can kill the individual, you can stop or cut the umbilical cord, so to speak, to that line of his multiplying generation.
Right.
And so this is why you find the quote unquote unarmed accidental shootings, quote unquote. You know what I mean? That's why you see the attacks on the black male or people of color, especially men, because again, women can't produce without the young men.
Correct.
Sowing them the seed before they get an opportunity to reproduce.
Right.
So if I can cut the reproductive seed off, the women are barren.
You schooling them now. Oh, I
the
love
women
that.
are barren without the young male seed of the black king or black prince. She is impotent, though she may be able to have children. So this is where you find not only the mental attack when we talk about Jim Crow laws, and you find the legal laws that are submerging the black vote, as well as other things mentally, because so a man thinketh, so is he. So if we can replicate negative thoughts through TV, through CNN, constantly negative news, right? And all the negative things, we don't get an opportunity to believe and see and know the positiveness about who we are and whose we are. So we're left with the mindset of, well, I got to do this in order to make money because of all the excuses. And let me say something. We know that the excuses are valid. However, excuses are the nails that build houses of failure. Excuses are the nails that build houses of failure. We cannot continue to say, well, it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. We know that. We know the truths about it. But what are we going to do to confront it? And how are we going to press and propel forward individually and collectively so that we can remove all the excuses? One of the ways is financial stability and wealth, prosperity, Black Wall Street, all of those type of things. You and me having this conversation is a building of that Black wealth, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. So this is how we can start to do this for our young people. And though say one of us doesn't have children, I know for myself in my past, I always, though I didn't mean to, or it wasn't purpose to, I always ended up dating young ladies who always at least had one kid. And
you
I was
sound like me, brother. You sound exactly like me.
It seemed like I couldn't find one young lady without a child to start something new and fresh together. But looking in hindsight, I believe that God had the plan for me to raise children who weren't bloodline or biologically mine, which I have helped to raise to certain points of building a lot of children, because the fact that I dated or was interested, or they were interested in me, and whatever developed, I ended up with stepchildren a lot of the time. Because again, it seemed I couldn't find that one that was with at least without one child.
Right.
But as I look back in hindsight, it was a gift and a blessing, and it started the mentoring processes early for me to be able to father those who weren't my biological, yet they listened to me or they followed me because of their absence and their loss. And I understood that because my father wasn't there for me.
Yeah. And I think that's a dynamic that in this day and time, I don't know if people readily understand that, because getting involved with someone who has children and you don't have any children, you have to be able to put that in. And like you said, being my relationships were the same way. I mean, I'm just like dude, that sounds just like what had happened to me. And being able to understand that, and the impact and influence that you had with those kids, because you become attached to them, connected to them, because of the relationship that you have and everything like that. And so That's you know, how I want you to talk, if you can talk just a little bit about that. How do you, and if you look back over those relationships that you had with, you know, you know, with the young lady, but then also with the children, did was that a difficult relationship that you had with the kid, getting having the kids get adjusted to you and everything like that? How having that male figure there and everything like that?
Yeah. So I can use my my son's mother as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I met her, we dated and we she ended up getting pregnant, which I have my son Darryl Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And she already had two daughters
Okay.
at the time when I met her.
Okay.
And I believe they might have been about, I would say maybe 2 and 3, somewhere around there. So they were very young.
Mm.
And she and their fathers, one of their fathers was deceased or was killed, and the other's father wasn't in their life for one whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in to that relationship, her having my son, and he was autistic,
Okay.
and then she had her two daughters at 2 and 3, and so I, you know, they just took to me and I took to them because of my own loss or
Mm-hmm.
absence of my father.
Mm-hmm.
I always said, even if I had a child with somebody and we weren't together, if it was a one night stand and I was certain that that was my child, regardless of how it came about, I was going to take care of that child and that mother, at least until the child was able to be on his own and fend for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she had two daughters, you know, I had all of a sudden from no kids to 3,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
3.
Right.
And then, you know, what ended up happening even with that situation is that, you know, too much college life, too much partying, too much hanging out. She got caught up in that life and in drugs. And now I end up being a single parent father with 3 kids,
Mm-hmm.
hers and mine,
Right.
you know,
Right.
2 girls and a boy. And though I tried to be the best mother as I could, I had to learn how to do hair and
Mm-hmm.
learn about all the things, you know, that young ladies go through. And you said it very, very plainly before. I'm not walking exactly in their shoes. I'm in the other set of shoes.
Right.
You know, I'm on the outside looking in. But the part that I did know about was the loss, the absence of that male role model.
Right.
And and I wasn't going to allow these 2 young girls, her name is Andrea and Nene or Nisha, and now they're in their 20s, and it's so crazy. We just found each other after some years,
Oh wow.
20 almost 23 years of being apart.
Mm-hmm.
Found him now through social media,
Oh, okay.
and his mother, her name is Bernice Milton. She ended up coming back almost or coming back in their lives 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
then coming back in my son Darryl Jr.'s life last year, October 15th, around his birthday. And now she's healed and delivered from drugs and alcohol and all those things that took her away. And we found each other. And now it's almost like deja vu, you know, just they're so grateful that I played that role
Mm-hmm.
in their lives and they actually consider me their dad,
Right. Right.
though there be no biological blood. And that's the one thing I know about God. Sometimes, this is for men and for women, sometimes God will give you another family
Mm-hmm.
that's not your blood family,
Right.
but that may be his spiritual family or your natural family that he will merge together because of the absence or the loss. He'll make up the difference and make up the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great that's a great example and a great story, and I love that. Um, I want to talk a little bit about this, and I wrote this down: malehood versus manhood.
Ooh,
In this
ooh,
dynamic that we're living in today, because and I don't worry about what other people say think. I just deal with what I know and what I've seen um,
mm,
today, and what I like, what I think that how there's this miseducation of men,
yeah.
um, and this misperception of men. I want you to talk a little bit about that. What do you think is this? What do you tell me your thoughts on this malehood versus manhood dynamic? that I can go
Ooh.
into that.
Well, you going deep, boy.
I told you, I'm not playing. I mean, because
listen,
here's the
you
thing.
sure Dr. Sean is not your mentor, bro?
because I'm tired of seeing men put these false narratives out here about what manhood is. Because, like I said, the first two things, and you said it perfectly. That when you hear them talk about manhood, it's always to protect and it's always to provide. Those are the only two things that you hear them say that a man is supposed to do. And there's so much more to us than protecting and providing. But even within those two dynamics, there's so much more to protecting and providing. Most of the times when you hear them talk about it, it's always through the lens of what physical strength I have, and then
physical strength,
what financial strength I have. So
right.
I'm gonna let you go talk about it before I go into it. So.
I mean, you're spot on, man. I mean, like I said earlier, we innately come up as innately without being taught out of the womb, protect, provide, especially the provider.
Right.
And so it's so much more to us as men, as Black men, as Black kings, that part of who we are is seemingly, not truthfully, but seemingly unimportant.
Right.
Or not as important. And that's why you find a lot of Black men striving, struggling, by any means necessary in a lot of cases, going out to get the money and going out to make sure that we protect and especially provide. And that is not necessarily in its total form who we are, what we are, and what we can be, right? What happened to love? What happened to communication? What happened to knowing yourself? What happened to integrity and character? Those things are just as much a part of who we are, but those things aren't the first two things that, in a lot of cases, women talk about or women are looking for. And we as men, we'll throw our whole lives away just to get money, just to get the right car, just to get the things that we believe or think that women are attracted to, so that we can seemingly be men. Just because you have them things, I can tell you as a person who has been a multimillionaire since I was 15 years old. Though I understand that people chase money and they want that freedom and the liberty, the choices that it gives you, the free mentally that it gives you, it in itself will not make you happy by itself. The Bible does talk about money being a defense and money answers all things or a lot of things. True. It does give you oxygen, and it works like oxygen, because the more you have, the more you can breathe. The less you have, the less you can breathe. Some people are strangling because they don't have enough. I get it. However, when I think about male versus men, it brings me to thinking about what women say, or how I see a lot of our brothers. You can be a man in a physical male body, but be a boy.
Yep.
You can also be a boy in a young man's body or in the body of a boy, but yet have more maturity mentally and wisdom wise, like a man.
Right.
That's the way I was younger, that I was more of a man at 12, being out there on my own, having my first apartment at 14 years old, my first car at 14. I was more mature and organizing older men, as well as being mentored by older men. So it has to be that we have to surround ourselves with people like yourself, people like other people that we look up to, so that we can begin to duplicate. Duplication is a great thing. I always say, as long as you're copying the right cat, it's okay to be a copycat.
Absolutely.
It's not a bad thing. So I think that's important for us as young men and young women to find and have mentors and role models, so that we can begin to understand who we are. And another thing, we gotta do our research. We don't research about our own heritage, our own family lines, our own family trees. We don't do that.
Yeah.
How can you go forward unless you know where you come from?
Exactly.
So we need to be able to look back on not only the Black Wall Streets and the other things, the Malcolm X's and the James Baldwins and all these other great individuals, and some of them are nameless.
Right.
Some of them we don't know their names, but they paid the price and the cost for us to be able to recognize and understand that my body is the temple of God, and because I carry the seed of life, I can't go just spraying my seed, quote unquote, all around into every field, because every soil that you may sow your seed in is not good soil.
Ooh. As my father used to
You
say,
started this, Leroy. You started this now.
as my father used to say, you put it where the goats can get it. You know what I'm saying? Because that is so true. That is so true. How I think too many of us as men don't take that spreading our seed around everywhere serious enough, and we wind up.
Let me say something if I can. Let me say something if I can, Leroy, real quick. Son, though he has autism, he's on a high spectrum. He's one of them computer hacker, cell phone hacker, hack into the company. He one of them dudes. But then there are other things that are on a low scale. But he still has a purpose and a mission by God in for his life, right? And so I cover him. I treat him just as sacred because he carries the seed of life, just as sacred as most men are putting the chastity belt on their young daughters. I'm putting one on my son, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
And so though he has great knowledge of electronics and all of these things and all of that stuff like that, I steer him in the proper way, in the proper direction with that, because he's so far advanced when it comes to technology and all the, the things that are going on in technology, that I align him with people who can coach him in that area so that he's not, quote, hacking and doing the wrong thing the wrong way. I put him with organizations and groups of people to align him and his intellect of computers and knowledge in the right direction. So I think it's important.
No, it's very, very important, and I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. And last kind of like topic that will cover, because I know that you have another show that after this that you got to do too. So, but really quickly, is there an unrealistic expectation on Black men today?
Unrealistic expectation?
Yeah, is there an
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I really believe that the sky's the limit. Drowning is not an option. Every day should be a day of urgency. Every day is a gift. Every day is a present, like you get on Christmas. Every day that we wake up as young Black men, Black kings, Black business owners, Black entrepreneurs with sons and daughters, man, it should be every day to me is like Monday. You know how you urge everything? I got to get my business done on Merge. I got to make calls. I got to do the emails. I got to do the interview. Every day should be Monday in a black young man and Black male's life and women. Every day should be Monday until you get what you want and you get to the place that you can be financially stable. Every day should be Monday.
I like that.
No days off.
No days off. I like that. I like that. Now, I want you to give for those that want to. Well, before I go into that, I want you to talk a little bit about what impact does mentoring play in shaping how we see ourselves as men, and then we'll go into your information. Yeah. Do you think that plays an important part?
Yes, absolutely. Mentoring, and really it's mentoring and it helps in the development stage. It gives clarity and direction. You have another individual who is looking out for your best interest, who you will allow the privilege and the opportunity to speak into that young man's or that older man's life, where they are wrong, where they are right. They get an opportunity to run things by a person, to make the decisions that and give their opinion about the decisions, but ultimately it is up to the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is important for young men and young women to have mentors and mentees, or those mother figures, or those spiritual mothers, or those spiritual fathers in their lives, whether it be pastors or doctors or whoever may be in their life. I think it is really important. I know it really helped me get on the right path to school and graduating and college. It really did help me to understand that I was more than where I was,
Mm.
and I was more than who I was portraying myself to be early on.
Wow, wow, wow.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'd like for you to give your like your contact information for your mentorship program, of course, and then any other. Talk about talk a little bit about what you offer in your mentorship program and your other businesses that you have.
Yeah. So I have a staffing and training uh, career placement company. It is REIGN, REIGN, Ultimate Solutions Network.com. We offer training programs. We offer temp staffing as well as, but our main focus is career placement,
Mm-hmm.
placing young men and young women in career jobs or career future positions with multiple companies throughout Baltimore and outside of Baltimore.
Okay.
I've had the privilege and honor over a 20-year period to help place as a job developer, career developer, facilitator, teacher, and instructor. Been able to help a lot of people get jobs and job placements. We do job readiness classes. I have a couple of different programs for teens and youth. I also have worked with gangs, the various gangs, helping some of those guys transition into, business young men, and helping them in the training, helping a lot of them get their GEDs, things of that nature. So we connect people. If we don't directly, we connect people with other organizations of whom I have relationships with to be able to do that. And also you can go to my page at Darryl The Mentor on IG. And you can find out a lot about me and what I do. You can also call the REIGN office at 410-705-4997. And if anybody wants to email me about a situation that is more private, they can reach me at REIGN, REIGN, Ultimate, ULTIMATE, solutions at gmail.com.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And see, that's how you can tell somebody that is polished and knows how to disseminate their information clearly, succinctly, directly. And because I mean, I can't tell you how many people that don't get that part right.
Yeah,
And being able to understand, having the clarity, spelling it out so that people understand,
yeah,
where to go and everything like that. So,
yeah.
brother, every time that we have our conversations, they
Brother,
go they seem to
I
go
know.
deeper and deeper
And you know
and
what's so
deeper.
crazy? It's like we never got enough time. We always got to do like
Never. No,
one and two.
before we go, I need you to tell them right after this you have another show. I want you to talk
Oh
about your
yeah,
show because you
that's
ain't
right.
even
That's
mentioned
right.
that.
Yeah, that's right. So the mandate is a show for men, Black men and men of color, but we do not leave out our ladies, our women, our mothers, because without you there would be no us. So we ask them to look in, chime in, listen in. We on that particular show, I'm very transparent. My guests are transparent. It's about real relationships, real understanding, real knowledge. We talk about everything from abstinence to sex to religion to politics to Black men in the workplace. And what it is I want a platform to help give the solution and resolution and mentoring to our young men and older men who need to be fathered. And so a lot of the people like yourself and other young men and older men who have paved the way, who are the OGs, quote unquote, and ladies and young men, it can help you to understand and learn your sons, your boyfriends, your fiancés, learn and know more about your husband, how we think, how we feel, what our fears are, and things of that nature. So tune in. The mandate starts at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and IG Live, and Mandate Monday is coming up. So it's all good, man. So thank you, Leroy. I appreciate you for your mentorship and your friendship with my wife, Kendella Niece, the producer and the production company.
I know, right?
Kenny, you listen. Happy wife, happy life. Kenny Lynn Productions. Kendella Niece. That's my wife. That's my everything, man. She is a super mom, a super individual, and a boss. So I just appreciate the privilege that God has given me to be with her and to be her husband.
Yeah, and I tell fellas, I said, men can talk all of this with, about running the household and everything like that. But I tell men this. I said, here's the thing, and I compare everything to chess because I love the game of chess. I said,
me and you both. Oh, I got to play you then, brother.
Oh yeah, we got to play. Oh yeah, you ain't said nothing but a word.
Oh, brother, you work with the clock? You work with the clock?
No, I haven't done the clock in like years. I haven't done the clock in years. I used to do that because my dad taught me how to play chess when I first began, and I used the clock. I would use the clock, but I haven't used the clock in like a long time.
We got to do that then. We got to do that.
Absolutely. And the weather's nice too, so we can.
Oh, for sure.
But I tell people this, and I say this. I said in the game of chess, I said the most important piece is the king. But the most powerful piece on that board is the queen. She can.
Can I borrow that? Can I borrow that, brother? Because that was.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make
you can have that one for free.
Jr.
Because the queen can get to the king from anywhere on the board. There's not one spot that she can't move diagonally straight, all straight, that she cannot move to get to the king. I said, so we have to understand of how important we, the importance that we place as men, but the power that women have as the queen.
It's true. It's true, man. It's true. That was a good analogy, bro. That was all right there, brother. That was all right there, brother.
Absolutely.
That's true.
So, brother Darryl, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming on the brand new development series and just dropping some, not just personal knowledge, but also business knowledge that young men and men need to have in order to be able to move forward in this 21st century and who we are and understanding who we are as men in this day and time, because it's about your manhood and not allowing others to define who you are as a man, but defining yourself as a man, whether it's you, your family, whether it's your occupation, whatever those things are. You don't allow other people to define you at who you are as a man. So this has been another episode of the brand new development series with your boy Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder, brought to you by Black Professional Men and JNF Enterprises. And it is Black Professional Men's mission to ensure the future of the African American male. And we do that by having strong men like Brother Darryl Lee, who is out here in the community, making sure that not only that the young men are being mentored and taken care of, but the young women are being taken care of, and adults. And as a result of that, we all become, our community is stronger because of it. So I thank you again, my brother. And we'll be talking. I know we'll be talking soon and everything like that. So I appreciate you for coming on my platform this time.
Yes, thank you, man. I'm honored, man. I'm honored. I really am honored. I don't take it lightly, brother. I don't take it lightly at all.
Absolutely. So we will talk with you all. We will see you all next time. Have a good evening.
All right.